Hi guys, so today we are going to be talking about the Hunger Games and specifically the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, so the newest Hunger Games. So first I actually want to talk about the fit. I got this idea from Trin, who just did, I'll put like right there. So she just did like a video also on the Hunger Games. I love her. She's one of my favorite YouTubers, like commentaries. So I loved how she did like the fit. So I found this in my closet and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this too. So I got this idea from her. So in this video, I'm gonna be talking mostly about like Snow himself and like his personality and like a lot of what I saw in the movie. The movie itself, like there were parts that I really liked, and then there were parts that I like didn't really care for really. But we're gonna start from the beginning. When Snow's young with his cousin, and they're like looking around and there's a war going on, and then they go home and the grandma tells him,
"Your father is dead, Coriolanus."
Your father is dead. He was killed in District 12. And that was a big thing. When they said District 12, I was like, oh shit, okay, so District 12, like from the beginning, has always been like a, you know, not the district, basically, especially for Snow.
It's up to us now to make him proud.
So like even in that itself, the grandma was like, okay, it's kind of like your job now to do what your dad did and to like bring this family back to what it was, basically, because now that the dad died, they actually don't have any money, and apparently like the war had scrapped their factories that they had in District 12, I think, or something. So they don't have money, which was also really interesting to see, because I didn't know, obviously, when I watched the other Hunger Games, that like Snow at one point didn't have anything and they were like living off basically nothing. And when you would go to school, he like lied about, you know, like things, because the capital is like people had money there. But in reality, after that war, not everybody had money. So you gotta fake it till you make it, basically. So one of the biggest things I found interesting about this movie is like how the Hunger Games was created and how it was so different, like back in the day, obviously, because they're showing it as like an older, like olden time kind of, even though it's advanced, it's not as advanced as like the other Hunger Games that we had watched, which was like, what, like 60 years after or something?
Is to turn these children into spectacles, Miss Crane, not survivors.
So that was actually really interesting how like no one really gave a shit about the kids, obviously. Like we only cared about the entertainment of the people in the capital. So we don't care if they survive at the end. What we care is that they're entertaining, however that may be. So this mentoring thing was like a new thing that they had brought into the Hunger Games, like these capital kids mentoring these district kids, because even later on, like when Snow is president, we see, you know, the other Hunger Games, there are no mentors. Like that was not a thing. Like I don't think that Snow wanted to do that anymore ever again, really. So like this was it. This was like, I think the one time they did it. And when they were showing like, you know, the districts on the like the TV screen, and they're all like, okay, you have this district and you have this guy and this is your person, whatever. It was interesting how specifically for Lucy, they kind of like pinned it on her, even like not just her like standing there, but her like walking down the whole thing, and Snow's like watching her. And honestly, one of my favorite parts is when she puts that snake in like the mayor's daughter's dress. I was like, yes, girl, get it. Because I obviously didn't know at the time that the mayor's daughter was like the reason why she was picked for the Hunger Games. But I just thought it was so cool. Like, who cares at that point? You know, like you obviously were picked. You like think, you know, you're gonna die. Fuck it. Like I would literally do the same thing. I'd be like, all right, like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, why would I give a shit? Here's another thing though. If somebody like punched me in the face, like the mayor just did to her, I would have ended him, because at this point I don't give a fuck. So if you touch me, I'm gonna hit you right back. Get off that floor and just yeet him. You know what I mean? Like, I was so like, how dare you touch her like that? You know what I mean? Like, it was just like a fat no for me. And then she starts, the covey of hers, like they start singing, and then she adds it on, and everyone's kind of like, what the hell's going on? Like, why is she singing? Like, this is weird. But Snow is kind of like watching her like, okay, she's pretty entertaining, you know, like this, you know, maybe she can somewhat like not maybe survive, but she's entertaining, which is like, you get sponsors that way. This was entertaining because like she's saying, you know, she had to do what she had to do, and at the end she just screams her lungs out, and I was like, yes bitch, me too. You can kiss my ass! I loved when she bowed. It was just kind of like I know what you guys want. I know what this is. I know you love entertainment. I'll give you what you want. You know, like that was something that Lucy had. She was like, I know what I'm supposed to do entertainment wise. Like I can do it. And that was like the opposite of Katniss, because Katniss was more like, I don't want to do that. Like, why would I give a shit? Like, I don't want to do any of this. And I don't want to, you know, like Katniss was like that. And Lucy was like the full opposite, where she's like, I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna dance, I'm gonna do what I need to do. Because at the end, I'll probably die anyway, but fuck it, you know? Like, so in like the movie, they made Snow not, I feel like, as aggressive or like as mad as he was, like maybe in the books, you know? Like the way that he really didn't want to be Lucy's mentor, they didn't really show that in the movie. The movie was more like, okay, he's gonna do what he's gotta do what he's gotta do, like he's gonna do it. But I think in the book, it was more like, yeah, he was gonna do whatever he needs to do, but he was pissed. Like he was like, I don't, like, fuck this. Like this is ridiculous. This is unfair. You know, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like they didn't really show that part of Snow in the movie, really.
That it's not just about winning.
Everything is about winning. If not the games now, then the crowd.
So I really liked this part where Snow says everything is about winning. So really in his eyes from a young age, winning was everything. If not the prize, then the crowd. Like entertainment, like winning people over, whatever you gotta do to win, he's gonna do it, you know? And they kind of showed him as like, he wasn't morally fully evil yet, you know? Like he was gonna get there, but they're showing like he was young, like he's still learning, and right now he's like in that mindset of everything is about winning. And then we see throughout the movie, it's like he like goes up and down a lot because of like Lucy and stuff like that. So it's just interesting to see how much Snow changes from being 18 to being like whatever he was, 70 years old, you know? So we know like the white rose means like everything to Snow. White roses. His mom smelled like roses, and they said when he was older and he used to drink that poison, the rose smell on him would kind of hide that blood smell in his mouth from the sores. And he loved white roses. They were like seen as like perfection to him, you know, and that was important to him, everything be perfect. So the rose meant, you know, quite a lot to him. So when they did that train scene where, you know, he gives Lucy a white rose and she takes the petal and she just eats one, and he's just kind of like, what the hell? Who is, like, what is she doing? Who does that, you know? She's so different, and obviously different was interesting to him back then compared to when he was 70, and then he was like, if you're different, I'm gonna kill you.
Oh, ow, ouch! Well, we'll give them a chance to stand up and catch their breath. I'm jealous of that entrance.
So this part was actually pretty crazy to me when they put them in the zoo, and they're literally like animals that you look at, and like, you know what I mean? It was so crazy because it was so different to how they did the Hunger Games, you know, 60 years later when Snow was president. Like when you watch Katniss and what they had like luxury before they went in the games. They gave them the best of the best to show them kind of what they're fighting for at the end, because, you know, you would get something like that. But in this they like treat them like not human. Like it, and I think Snow kind of learned from this. Like when he saw it, he was like, oh, okay, this is something he didn't want to do in the future, because this doesn't make them want to, like, why would anyone want to fight when they know the end is like there's nothing at the end? You know what I mean? Like Snow made the Hunger Games like, if you win, you're gonna have it real nice, you know? And he showed them like a little preview before the Hunger Games, giving them like a penthouse and really good food and a really luxurious train that they went back to the Capitol in. All like the dress ups they had before, and like, you know, like the interviews, they made them seem so different to when they, back in the day when they put them in zoos and they're like, look, they're here. This is how we all meet them in zoos. Like, what? That was so crazy. I was like, there is no way they're putting them in zoos. They don't feed them. They don't really give a shit about them at all. Why would anyone want to fight for shit if you're gonna treat them like shit? If they know what their ending is gonna be, like, why would they give a shit? You know, like that was the thing about these Hunger Games. Now, this is the part where Snow's friend talks about how this is not humane, like we shouldn't be doing this, this is wrong. And it's just like, I know he has like the right intention, but he's so oblivious and out of it because, you know, he's like his dad is one of the richest, but he wants to do the right thing, but he has no idea what he's doing. And we're going to see that throughout, like later on in the film. And it's just like, when he talks, I'm just like, dude, you don't know what you're even, like, you're just saying stuff, but you're never going to do anything about it. Like, you don't give me that vibe that you're going to actually do something about what you're saying. You just say it. You're like, this is how I feel. This is unfair.
Down in the cage it fell. Down in the cage, but it landed.
On stage.
You're good at games. Maybe one day you'll be a game maker like me.
So I love this part where Dr. Gall comes in and she's like, maybe one day you'll become a game maker like me. And like Snow, of course, is the president. Like he is the boss of the game maker. And so that's what he wants. The game maker is not enough for him. You know, in the future, he's controlling the games and the game maker. And that was really cool because I loved how Dr. Gall came in like down, you know what I mean? Like that was fun. I love her character. I love Dr. Gall's character. You know, maybe she can be evil, but just the way that she is, the way that she like presents herself, like the confidence and like the vibe of it, it's so different from the game makers they showed in the Hunger Games, like with Katniss and stuff. They all had so much fear of like Snow that they just did what he said. This game maker, Dr. Gall, has like the power to do what she wants, and like she can like, I guess, manipulate the president in a sense, whoever that was at the time, to like let her do things. So she was just more fun, in my opinion. I love Dr. Gall. She's one of my favorite characters.
What are the Hunger Games for?
They're to punish the districts for their uprising. To commemorate the end of the war.
Commemorate the dull.
We should be viewing those tributes as human beings.
See, this is also like when Snow kind of brings up that idea, like, okay, we should see them as human beings. Like, if the audience gets more attached to them, then they're going to want to see them in the games and like vote for them and things like that, which is what he did 60 years later. Like when you watch Katniss, and like the reason why they all would like dress up in specific, you know, things and had like these interviews is because they wanted people to like them, and they wanted the votes because they wanted the sponsors. And who creates the sponsor idea? Snow. So, you know, Snow really, he knew what he was doing since he was 18, really, you know, like, yeah, he's a bad guy, but at 18, when you just watch him create these ideas, he was like smart for his age and like for what he was doing. He obviously got worse and worse as he got older, obviously, but at this time, his ideas were just like interesting and smart, you know? Now, the part at the zoo where that girl, Miss Crane or something, she was like stabbed by her mentee. Shocker. Like the way that she was playing with her with like food, and Lucy says hunger is a weapon. So, you know, people know this. And the way that Miss Crane is just using that as like Like, she was supposed to be our mentor, you know, you're supposed to help out your mentee, and she's just like, you want the drink? You want it? No? Yes? No? I would have taken the drink and fucking smashed it. Like, yeah, why not? Like, what do you have to lose, you know? Like,
My friend, she is poison with perfect teeth.
that is basically what Snow becomes by the time he's 70. Like, he literally drinks poison little by little every day, where, you know, that's why he's got those sores in his mouth with perfect teeth. Like, he is what he says. It's a good, like, metaphor. And now when Dr. Gall brings in Snow and his, like, project partner, and she kind of, like, takes the credit for his work, she's like, it was my idea. The sponsors, I said it would be great. And Dr. Gall was like, okay, well, the papers are in this snake bin, and if they know your scent, you're fine. Like, put your hand in. The fact that this bitch said, okay, let me put my hand in there instead of just telling the truth is so stupid. Like, why would you put your hand in, like, a full jar of snakes and just be like, okay, I can definitely get this paper without getting bit? You're stupid. You're just stupid. Like, you deserve it at that point. And I like how Dr. Gall was kind of like, she kind of knew, like, she's a dummy. Like, I can get her. So I actually really like this part too with Dr. Gall. It was interesting, and the way Snow just stayed back and was like, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna let it be. But it's like, why? Why would you do that? You know, But it was kind of good that he stayed quiet, because she kind of got what she deserved. So, you know,
Inspired by Coriolanus yesterday, of course. His little wedding idea. But the sponsorships and the gifts in the arena, those were all mine.
Clemmy.
okay, so I want to talk about this picture. It's so cool how the Capitol is not, like, we're seeing the Capitol before it was back to its way it was, like when we saw it with Katniss, and, you know, like, the Capitol was good. It was built, and there was no war. But in this, we're seeing how these buildings are being constructed still. Like, the Capitol is not what it used to be. You know, people are still struggling, but they're kind of hiding it. And that's just something that, like, you wouldn't think the Capitol would go through. You like, even though there was a war, it's just funny how when you watch the other Hunger Games, you don't really think about what the Capitol went through. Like, how they had to, like, rebuild and stuff. And it's not like a way of saying that we feel bad for them, because obviously it's not what I'm saying. But it's just interesting to think, like, when you watch the other Hunger Games, it's like, you don't think about the Capitol. Like, you think, okay, it's always been like this. It's always been perfect. Everyone's always had, like, a luxurious life here. But really, it's like they rebuilt this, and they kind of had to create, like, the luxury all over again, and people finding their way back to, like, making money and, like, having money. And it's just interesting to me, you know? Everyone has their own opinions on it. People might think it's boring. People might think it's like Capitol doesn't deserve it, or like Capitol is just evil all itself. I just think it's interesting how they had to rebuild everything, and we didn't even really think about it because, you know, we care about the districts, which we should. But it's like, this was also something that had to be rebuilt. And the way that they had rebuilt it, and when Snow was president, it really did seem like everyone who lived there was doing well. Like, that was kind of like Snow's goal, that the Capitol was where everyone had everything they needed, you know? This scene was actually really interesting to me, because I actually thought for some reason that the Capitol did this, like, to create entertainment or something, but it was actually the rebels who had kind of fucked up their arena where they were supposed to have the Hunger Games, and it was their kind of way of saying, fuck you for having these games and making us be a part of it, really. And that was actually something where I was like, oh shit, like, for some reason that didn't click in my mind at first, that the rebels did it, and I don't know why I thought that the Capitol did it themselves. But just the way that even Lucy kind of saved Snow, she could have ran, but she didn't. She saved Snow. Snow went to the hospital, and then Lucy, after that, still performed and got, like, the most sponsors of the night with her singing, you know? Like, that girl has guts, that girl has balls. She's not my favorite character in this, but that's just me. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't have, like, you know, like she's pretty smart. Like she knows what she's doing. She knows what entertainment is. She knows how to get people on her side. She knows how to do that.
It's sooner than 6 feet under. Rings, lover, you run your home.
The way that Snow looked around and he was like, holy shit, like the way that she sings affects people so much. Like the way that they were crying watching her, he knew that she would get people on her side. And that was just interesting to him because obviously in the future, Katniss does the same. And he's fully against it, you know? He's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want people to be on her side. This is ridiculous. And I think he saw, like, obviously a bit of Lucy in Katniss, which is why he despised her from the beginning. So just watching him at 18, looking at everyone, looking at Lucy, and he's like, holy shit, like, people really do get mesmerized by specific things about people, even without really knowing them.
I am gonna get you out of here.
All right, so this part where Lucy tries to kiss Snow, here's the thing. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't really care about their love. They're like, you know, what? It's just like, I don't care about their love for each other in a sense, like, because we know what happens. We know that he doesn't end up with her. We know who he becomes in 70 years. You know, he's fully evil. So it's like when I watch them, I'm like, okay, this isn't going to end well anyway. So now we're into part 2, which is like the prized, you know, it's called the prize. And this part actually made me tear up at the beginning when the little girl kind of holds Lucy's hand and then they kind of push her away. That really gets me because that's where the humanity kind of comes in. And I actually felt really, really sad for that little girl. Like she didn't deserve it. And, you know, not many, like they're all kids. So really, do any of them deserve this kind of thing? No. But it's like the specific moments that make you like, your humanity kind of comes back on in a sense, like, because, you know, this is a movie too, so obviously when you watch specific things, you're like, oh, this is cool. But then when you see these kids, in a way, you're kind of like, oh shit, this is horrible. Like, this shouldn't even be happening, you know? You kind of forget, like, that it's even a movie that you're watching. So this is kind of something that pulled on my heartstrings as, like, a viewer watching. And if I was like, if this was a real thing and you're watching it, I would have cried on that. If I saw that little girl, I'd be like, no, get her out of there, you know? Like, this is how it is.
The monsters! All of you!
Ted.
The way that that didn't affect, like, anyone. Yeah, he screamed. Yeah, he was angry. I'm sure, like, I would be too, but that did nothing. Like, the guy's just like, all right, continuing. 10, 9, 8, 7.
What
are you doing? Run.
Now the games have begun, and it's just like, it does remind me of like the other Hunger Games. This is how it started. They had weapons, they all run, they start killing each other right away. Some people are running and hiding, some people are like killing each other. It's also so crazy to see how different the Hunger Games are from here to 60 years later. Like, they were just in this little arena. That was it. That was the games. Then came the Hunger Games 60 years later, where it's like, you have all these, like, you could create animals in there. Like, it was all, like, in this little dome, and they could all, like, make things, like, electronically and send them in. It was so crazy how, like, obviously you couldn't really do that back in the day, and then so much changed 60 years later. Like, instead of even thinking about ending the Hunger Games in humanity, it was more like, let's make this better and better and better, and more people watch, more success, to the point where they're like, okay, even the winners can be rich, you know? Like, we're gonna give the winner something great because they deserve it now. Much had changed, especially when I think Snow became president.
Horrific and disgusting. Miss Phipps, please, if you're going to vomit, do it off camera.
That was, the fact that he was like, that was disgusting and disturbing. Don't throw up in here. We don't care about the districts. We don't care those kids just died in there. Just do not throw up in front of everybody. That is so gross. That's how delusional people were. And that is so insane to me, that was the most disgusting thing that happened.
Prize the girl. How convenient you don't have to choose between them.
I think this said a lot where it's like the girl or the prize. And it just kind of reminded me of Katniss and Peeta when, you know, they were the last two and one had to, you know, you couldn't have both. You couldn't win and have your, like, the love of your life. But they got it. And that Snow was so bothered about the fact that, like, they both lived and they both won and they both got the luxury and each other in a sense. And he didn't get that in his life. So for him, it was like, you either get the girl or you get the prize. And obviously the prize is a bigger deal. But when he was 18, obviously things are different. You're not in that stage yet where it's like, okay, I only want power right now. Like, he's still thinking about love and her and all these different situations. And his mind is just going, woo. So it's like, it's so different from when you're 70 and your life is kind of like, okay, I've lived it. I know what it is. I want power. I want money. I don't care about the love. I don't want to see them happy. It's interesting how the choices have always been like that. Like, prize or girl, love or money, power or love. It's like one or the other. Pick one. You can't have both, you know? Now, this part was super interesting to me. When Snow had to go in to the arena to get out his friend who went in there because he's an idiot. And, you know, Dr. Gall's like, go in, get him out. You're good at it. You know, and the reason she said that is because honestly, Snow is probably one of the best manipulators you can find. Like, the way that he talks to his friend, he's like, okay, we need to go. Well, you know, we'll do what we need to do. Like, we'll figure it out, but we need to get out of here. And he's like, okay, yeah. Dr. Gall, like, knew that about him. Like, she knew he was special, you know? And when they were getting out, you know, they were being chased by one of the boys. And then Snow takes, like, a thing and he just starts fucking going at him. And that's when you realize that it's prey and predator, you know? Like, he doesn't just hit him and go. He kills him. He's to that point where he's like, how dare you try to kill me? Like, who do you think you are for trying to do that? And that's where his mind goes, which I feel like a lot of people, like, if you're in the Hunger Games, it's like, how dare you think you can kill me? Like, who do you think you are trying to kill me? Especially if you're someone from the capital, I think, you know, which is why he was so, like, even more angry about it. So he kills him, they get out, and then he sees his friend's parents come pick him up, and he's crying. He's like, Ma! And it's like, this is what it is. Like, he always has this little comfort behind him. He has his parents, his rich parents. He goes, he hugs his mom. And Snow's kind of watching it like, huh, okay, like, this guy, you know, like, he's really never actually going to do much because when anything goes wrong, he doesn't know how to figure it out for himself. He's weak. You know, when you watch him, honestly, he's just a weak boy, in my opinion. And that might be harsh, and I'm sorry, but that's how he was raised, obviously, because apparently he's from District 2, his dad has money, they came to the capital, and now he's like, I want to do better. One thing goes wrong, Ma! That's just not how it works, you know? Snow can't do that, he's an orphan, so he has to figure it out. So I think that part was just interesting, where all of it comes out, the prey, the predator, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive, all of it comes out. Snow realizing the fear you have in the games, like, he knows what that fear is like because he was in it. So when he's president and he's making these kids go in, he knows exactly how they're feeling. He's not one of the guys who just, like, puts them in, doesn't know what's going on, doesn't know the feeling. He knows now because he did it at 18. We just didn't know that when we were watching the other movies, or at least I didn't, because I didn't read the books at the time, so.
You want to protect people, Mr. Snow, to govern them like your father, then it's essential you accept what human beings are and what it takes to control them.
See, like, the way that she said, like, you need to know how to control people. You need to have the control, you know, you can't have them all willy-dilly and doing what they want. It's just not how it works in life. And that's exactly what he does when he's older. He controls everything. And when he doesn't like someone, he killed them. And that's where the poison came in too. He was really into poisoning people, and he would take a little sip himself, you know, just so people didn't think that, like, it was just killing people. You know, you could see him crying there. Like, he still has humility, humanity, all of it. Like, he's crying, he feels bad. And she's just like, get it together. If you want to be like your dad, you gotta keep control of people. You gotta do what you gotta do. And he's just kind of like taking it all in. He's like, okay, all right, I get it, you know?
To get Sejanus out.
What happened? Are you okay?
She gives me Effie vibes to the max. Like, the way that she looks, just the way that she even, just her features, and like, she loves, you know, fashion and things like that. She gives me Effie vibes. It's just me.
And it felt powerful.
Now here, where Snow says, I felt so much power when I killed that boy, and his cousin is like, boy, please don't say that. And she literally says, like, your father had so much hate in him, you know, like, please don't become that. Like, that was her fear for him, and that's exactly what happened. Like, he became his father, I guess. Like, all he had was hate for people. So her biggest fear came true, basically. No matter how much she tried to stop it, it didn't work.
He just tore down the flag.
You're gonna punish me now? Are you going to punish me now?
Capital citizens, I'm afraid I must interrupt our games.
This part where he takes down the flag, which is a powerful move on his part, because obviously they don't want things like that to happen in the games, because then people will think the districts have some kind of power, which they're not supposed to. And then he starts screaming and he's like, how are you gonna punish me now? And it's like, what else can you do to me? You know, in a way he's saying, like, what can you put me in here? This is the worst that I can get. I'm gonna die. Like, I'm done. So I'm gonna say what I want to say, is what he's saying. And then Dr. Gall comes in and she's like, listen, everybody, the president's son is dead. And now that this president's son is dead, we need to remember who we are. We need to remember the districts are assholes. We need to remember that we are the rulers and they are not. The districts are the reason why the president's son is dead. So we need to do everything in our power to, in a sense, get revenge, which is the Hunger Games, you know? So that the fact that came out and everyone's just kind of like, yeah, she's right. Yeah, we need to, like, make sure the districts don't think they have any kind of power over us. But nobody cares about all those kids dying in there, no matter district or not. But just the fact that this president's son died is like, listen, we only care about him. We don't give a shit about the other kids, even though they're all children. That, it's not right. We don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. Morally, that is incorrect. Then come the birds that were the experiments. They hear people's opinion, like voices. They bring them back from the districts. They listen to what they're talking about, basically spying on them in a sense, you know. Now, Snow goes in. He wants to help Lucy, obviously, so he puts in, like, the handkerchief with, like, her smell, so that, I guess they don't, like, hurt her. Dr. Gall said, like, if they have the sense, they're not gonna, like, hurt you, like, you know. So he puts that in, which is cheating also. And the snakes get there, and the one part where, one of the boys, he's just kind of like, the one who, like, took the flag down, he's just, like, standing there, like, on his knees, and he lets all the snakes come on him and kill him, basically. It's like he died with dignity in a way, like, he let it be.
Cast off my shoes when my body's closed down, when my boats run aground. Learned how to love.
Get her out!
Part 3, where it's like Snow has been found that he cheated. He gave her the poison. He gave her the handkerchief, but it's like he also used it specifically of his, so obviously his initials or his dad's initials are on it, you know, like, not the smartest move, but so they found out. They're like, okay, you're done. You're going to become a peacekeeper. He, like, bribes to go to District 12, and let me tell you, Snow in a buzz cut not many people can pull off buzz cuts, but let me tell you, this man can pull off a buzz cut. It looks even better when he was in District 12. Obviously that uniform was like a fat no, even though I'm wearing it. But him in District 12 with the blue and the white t-shirt, I'm like, okay, you've got me now.
What were you thinking back there?
She didn't do anything, Choreo.
At that point, if I was him, if I was Snow and I could get back to the capital, my home, I feel like I would do whatever I needed to do to get back home, which sounds horrible maybe, but it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, like his friend didn't know what he was doing. He was like, I'm gonna help people. But it's like, you can't even like get through training. What are you talking about? You get sick to your stomach, you feel bad all the time, you feel guilty. You're not gonna get anywhere then. So even then, like Snow is more like, listen, we have to do what we have to do. We've got to get out of here, you know? And that mindset of Snow, that tells you kind of all of it. Like, he didn't go into the district thinking, oh, I feel so bad. Like, they live like this. Like, this is so sad. He went in there thinking, I got to get out of here. I need to go back. He doesn't feel bad for all these districts and all these rebels or whatever. Now, I like this. The whole singing in this movie is interesting because obviously in the other Hunger Games, we didn't get any songs until Katniss just sung like the Hanging Tree a little bit. But we didn't have like this, like Lucy Gray goes off. This isn't just like, oh shit, you're going in the games. Like the games is done now. Like it didn't take that much of the movie really. And now it's more about Snow and what he kind of learns from being in District 12. And like when Snow became president, it seems like he just wanted them to be like the lowest of low. Like he hated them. And then Snow, punches Billy, which is great because Billy should be punched. Billy's an asshole. He's also the reason why Lucy went into the Hunger Games because he had an affair with, he cheated on her with the mayor's daughter and stuff. So Billy needs to get the fuck out of there, and the mayor's daughter. Both of them.
Strung up a man, they say murder's 3.
Now this is when Snow and Lucy have their first kiss and all that. It doesn't really do much for me. I don't feel sparks or anything. But again, that's because I know what's gonna happen. So now this is where it gets a little bit juicy, they're just hanging out, they're talking about their life, and you can see how completely different they think. Lucy asked Snow, she's like, would you go back? He's like, yeah, I'd go back. I don't want to be here with these people. And she's like, excuse me? What kind of people? You people are the one who have the Hunger Games. You think that's right? He's like, no, of course not. He believes the districts kind of got what they deserve. And obviously Lucy doesn't feel that way. And Lucy's like, what if we just live here? What if we live here with the lake and the fishing? And he's like in his mind, he's like, oh, no, I don't want to do that, But he's not going to say it right away. But that tells you so much right there that they're two very different people. She doesn't want to go to the Capitol with him, and he doesn't really want to live here doing nothing.
Some people call it swamp potato, but I think Katniss has a much nicer ring, don't you?
Now this was kind of wild to me. The fact, can you imagine, this name being brought up to you after you turned 70 or whatever, and Katniss Everdeen is from District 12, and she literally reminds Snow of Lucy, and she literally said that name when he was 18. You think he ever forgot that when she said it? No. So now Snow is asked to they're like, oh, you're that guy's son. He's great. We love him. We're going to put you in a different district, District 2. You're going to do so well that you're going to go back to the Capitol one day. And in his head, he's battling it now. He's like, Lucy, Capitol. Lucy, Capitol. And right now he's really thinking about it. He's like, I don't know which one I want. He's not there just yet, where he's like, oh, I just want the Capitol. He's not there yet, obviously. He's 18.
Planning on doing anything dangerous, okay?
It's all dangerous.
They're just doing what anybody else would do, Choreo.
This part. This is basically what gets this guy killed. And Snow is the reason he he dies, you know? So listen, his friend, like this guy, he's not really his friend, he got him killed, but he believes people so fast and believes in like the good so fast, and he doesn't think about the consequences that the actions will create, even though he just did it before when he fucking went into the arena when he wasn't supposed to. You're irritating me, you know? Yes, it's wrong, it's not a good thing what he did, but it's like he was just thinking of stopping him from doing a really stupid thing in a sense. Because Snow doesn't believe that these District 12 people are all like good. You know, he doesn't just believe that they're gonna like la 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 like leave. Like he doesn't believe that, which, you know, we learn in the future it's more complicated than that. Okay, so now Snow shoots the mayor's daughter, and then the other guy kills Billy, and then so we have people shot, we got guns. And now, of course, his friend is like, I didn't know this was gonna happen, oh my god, you know, like being all irritating again. And Snow, of course, has that power of just kind of talking to him and being like, listen, I've got you, you've got me, we've got each other, you're like my brother, I love you, we'll be okay. He's like, okay, yeah, like, you know, like these are all loose ends. The guns, the people, in Snow's head, he's trying to like organize everything. It's okay, I'm not gonna get caught for this shit, you know, like put the guns away, kill the people if you need to, kind of thing. And that's basically what happens. Like both Bruce and this guy, his friend, both are hung, which was like, really, he was hung because of Snow. Like Snow killed his friend, you know? That says a lot. That's when you know he was really changing. He was like, you could tell then if he was picking good or evil. So when his friend gets, when they all, Spruce and like they all get hung, right? And when they get hung, it's like you can hear his friend screaming for his mom. Like that's when he was kind of like, oh my god, like I need my mom now. Like that's when that all came out again, you know, like he doesn't, yeah, he was scared. And Snow kind of just didn't look at him, and he just kind of looked away. And even at the end there, when Lucy, you could tell by Lucy's face that she kind of was like, okay, this is weird. And she didn't understand Snow at that point, and you can tell by her facial expressions.
You know what I won't miss? People.
People aren't so bad. Not really. It's what the world does to them.
Honestly, I understand Snow. People really fucking irritate me. I'm more of like a fit-based person. I'm more of a dog person, right, my Puppuccino? Mwah. So I am with him when he says like I'm not gonna miss people, because I wouldn't either. And Lucy's not wrong when she says that things that happen in your life kind of make you who you are, and that's kind of like for everybody. And that's what happens to Snow in a sense, you know, like everything that happened to him, his future and who he had become, a big part of it, I think, was this when he was 18 and all this happened. So now they're at the cabin. Snow finds the guns, and man, the smile on his face when he finds it, he's like, holy shit, I can get rid of this. Even holding it, it seemed like he felt good when he held it, because when he had killed that kid in the arena, he said he felt power, you know? And then he killed Mayfair with this gun, and I'm sure he felt power. So for him, he was kind of like, I feel a lot of power from this stuff. And then even when him and Lucy were coming to the cabin, he was like, oh, you know, 3 people is enough for me that I killed. And she was kind of like, 3? I thought it was 2. And then he kind of lied and said, well, you know, the 3rd one is me killing my old self. Lucy didn't buy that. None of us did. We all know the 3rd person was his friend that he like betrayed and sent in the recording, and then he got hung. But he didn't tell Lucy that. And they had talked about how trust is more important than love. They don't have any trust between them, like at all at this point. Like Lucy does not trust Snow. And she kind of looks at him. I think she can feel his vibe, and it just doesn't work for her, which is why she's like, okay, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go pick some Katniss or whatever. And he's kind of like, oh, it's raining. And she's like, well, I'm not made out of sugar. And she goes, and then he kind of like, I think gets a vibe too. Like he goes, he takes care of the guns, and then Lucy's kind of gone. And he's like, what the hell's going on? So then he goes, he finds his mom's like shawl, and then there's a snake in it. The snake bites him. He's like, Lucy, this is how you're gonna treat me after everything I've done for you? You know, and it's kind of like, okay, well, there, it's all coming out now, you know, like the way that he feels like he's done so much for her and all that. And I think that is when he really changes. He's like, love is shit. I don't give a about love. I want power. I want money. I want things that aren't gonna hurt me. Lucy was like, yeah, I can't trust him. Like she knew that when they left, it wouldn't be enough for Snow. Like she knew it wasn't going to be enough for him. So she kind of did him a favor when she left him, but it's like, it also kind of made him who he is, like his worst self. So, I mean, you can take it however you want. That's how I take it. That if she stayed, if he went with her, maybe he'd kind of resent her, but he'd maybe be a different person. But because she left him like that, he feels betrayed, and he feels like love means nothing now, you know? So that's what I got from Lucy leaving him. See, now we have him shooting at her when she was running, and it's just weird how she was running away from him. Like, instead of going far, she was like he was here and she was kind of passing by him, which was weird. Like, why would you pass by him? You could go any other ways where he can't see you. Like, I don't know if it was like, did somebody take her and then she kind of ran from them? Or did she leave herself? Like, I don't know. It was strange to me. Like, in my opinion, that's what I thought. That it was strange the way that she, like, where she was running. It was interesting now when the Mockingjays, or whatever they are, sorry, the songbirds, they're fucking with his mind. Like, he's hearing her sing, you know, the hanging tree, and he's kind of like, Lucy, where are you? And she's not there. And that's how these birds become such an impact in the Hunger Games. Katniss, for example, she could hear her sister's voice because they recorded it, and then the birds got, and the way that he got that idea was because he legitimately went through it himself, you know? Which makes sense. Like, you have to go through something like this to even have that idea in your mind. So after all that has happened, Snow went back and, you know, went to District 2, did what he had to do, came back to the capital. Then they got, like, their penthouse back. You know, his grandma's in pretty clothes, and he's in a nice suit, and everything's, like, back to normal, you know, whatever. But you can tell when he asks his cousin, he's kind of like, how do you think I look? And she's like, you look like your father. And she didn't mean it in a good way. And he knew that. And for Snow, the older he got, if you didn't want what he wanted, he would just not like you, which is why we see in Hunger Games, you know, when they went into like, oh, we know you. Like, Katniss was like, we know you. She's like, tigress, right? Like, she was a tiger. And she said that this is what Snow did to her because she just didn't agree with Snow, really. So the hatred just got more and more in Snow, like, the older he got, really. And even his own cousin, he was like, I don't fucking like you anymore. Like, get out of my face. I feel like that hatred kind of started younger because already she's not really on his side. Like, she's like, oh no, like, you're gonna turn into your father. That's not a good thing. And in his head, he's like, I'm okay with turning into my father. Like, agree with me, like, be on my side. So then he also talks to Dr. Gall. She asked him, she was like, what is the Hunger Games for? And in the end, they talk about how really the world is an arena. Like, prey, predator, you want power. You want to feel power. You want to be the victor, as Snow says, you know? That is just the world in itself, that you want power. So the Hunger Games, whoever wins feels power, or usually they do, you know? And that's what Snow wanted in the future. Whoever won felt power. They got a big house, they got food, they got luxury, which for them was power, you know, especially for people who came from the districts. Snow goes and sees Highbottom, and they talk, and Highbottom actually tells him how Snow's dad and him were best friends, and it was Highbottom's idea for the Hunger Games, but he was just like, it was a joke. And then Snow's dad stole the ideas and gave it to the president, and kind of that's how it created. So Snow's dad is really the one who created it. Highbottom was not for it at all now. He's like, I want to cancel them. But obviously with what Snow did, it wasn't going to be canceled. Like, Snow kind of brought it back to life. So Highbottom was not for it. So what does Snow do? Of course, he poisons him, he kills him, because Snow doesn't want any kind of debate about it. He doesn't want to like fight Highbottom on it with the president. Like, he doesn't want to go through all that shit. So he's like, I'm just gonna kill him, which he does. He kills him. That's when you know that Snow just doesn't give a shit anymore. Like, he just starts killing. Like, the way he's just killing now is like, whatever, I don't really give a shit. So and it just continues later on. Like, the older he gets, the more power he gets, the more money he gets. He's like, I'm in control. I want everything done my way. And if it's not, I'm just gonna kill you.
It's the things we love most that destroy us.
What a line. That tells you how much hatred he has, like, he really believes that if you really love something, it's gonna destroy you. Like, just don't waste your time. It's not worth it, in a sense. And obviously he felt that, I'm sure, after Lucy. And, we know he gets married or whatever. He has a grandkid in the future. So he has kids, he has grandkids, but that doesn't mean anything to him, Like, sure, he loves his grandkid, but he didn't marry someone, I'm sure, that he was in love with. It was just kind of like, okay, you gotta do what you gotta do. So he probably just did it. Made his family, obviously, even for presidency, I'm sure you needed that, and he did it. But he always believed that whatever you love the most will destroy you, which is why he kind of used that against, like, Katniss and even others, like, whoever they loved or whatever they loved the most. He was like, I will destroy you because I can. I know what you love, and I can take it away from you like that. And he always used that as his, like, biggest weapon, which is, horrible. But it tells you how much hatred he really had with really just people. He hated people from the beginning. Like he said, he's like, I'm not going to miss people. So imagine he ruled the people. He was the president of the people, and he hated people. So for him, he didn't really care about the people. He cared about his own selfish needs and power and things like that, Alright, guys, so that is the end of this video. This movie was really interesting to me. There was these specific parts that I really liked. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.